The Bronevski Legacy by Frederick Jordan.
Yes.
So before we start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
I've lived all my life in Burnley. I'm a married man with a family. My wife's called Barbara. I have 3 children, Carl, Lyndon and Claire. And I enjoy writing and painting and poetry. And I've written a story that I'd like you to hear.
Okay, where did you first get the idea for this story?
From reading quite a lot of Horace genre, being interested in it to the point that I would like, I thought, to be one of the authors of that kind of a novel.
Okay, I believe it has a bit of a local setting to it. Would you like to explain that a little?
Yes, part of it is set in my local town. We have what used to be a stately home, but is now a museum called Townley Park, and I've used that as part of the setting for the story. The rest of it is all over Europe and America and parts of Britain.
Fantastic. So you've told us a little bit about where this story is going to take us. Without giving too much away, can you tell us a little bit about what the story is about and give us a brief outline of the plot, please?
The outline of the plot is that there is a werewolf who is something of a chameleon. He can put weight on and take weight off as he pleases. He likes to have packs of very, very rich werewolves, and he slowly kills them off and takes their money. He believes that if you're going to be a werewolf, you may as well be a rich werewolf and travel the world.
Fantastic. Do you have anything else to say?
At this moment, all I can say is, let's get on with it, because each week I have 15 minutes to talk about it. Each week I will read that 15 minutes out to my audience, and I hope you enjoy it. And at the end of the story, we'll see where we're at.
So let's go straight on with the Bronevski Legacy. Over to you.
Here's the prologue. My good friend Sam Paxton once told me never to repeat this story. Nobody would. No, let me rephrase that. Nobody could possibly believe it. What's happening right in here in the middle of our so-called ordered society. Well, I'm John McKenna, Mac to my friends, and I never could take advice, good or bad. So, for better or for worse, I'm going to tell the story, Sam's story, and in a way, I'll be telling my own story too. As far as my involvement in it is concerned, it all started just over a year ago in Youngstown, Ohio. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. That's where I come from, where a friend of mine, Billy Lapowitz, introduced me to a guy we called Fatso. Chapter 1. The one-room shack stank to high heaven. Everywhere you looked there was filth. The sink, piled high with unwashed dishes, pots and pans and a grimy dishcloth, was half filled with cold stagnant water that in turn was interspersed with floating islands of solidified cooking fat, all mixed with multicoloured scum. A grey threadbare rug, hung as a curtain, did little to hide the grimy window, which refused access to the sunlight that had long ago given up its struggle to penetrate the gloom. On the floor, beneath a millennium of compressed shit, was what was remained of the original carpet square, now edged with thousands of minute pieces of moulding wallpaper, paper that had broken free from the bondage of the mildewed wall, only to find that life on the carpet was not so hot either. How anyone could live in such a place was beyond imagination. But if one's eyes scanned the room, they had to eventually come to rest on the object lying on the bed in the corner. Here was a grotesque form that completed but did not complement the obnoxious scenario. Lech Bronevski, the only son of Polish refugees Slobodan and Eva Bronevski, was all of 26 stones in weight and almost 6 feet 10 inches tall. At that present moment he lay in his usual state, breaking wind louder than the safety laws permitted, and sleeping off the effects of the Polish white spirit with beer chasers he had consumed the night before. His snoring shook the piss-stinking bed, while a line of spittle dripping from his cavernous mouth ran into his ear, creating a puddle that overspilled and flowed on down his neck to form a sticky wet patch on the grey pillow. As if this was not enough to make the observer throw up, his vest had ridden over his enormous belly, a belly that wobbled and shook in time with every deafening snore. The door to the slum was thrown rudely open, and the newspaper delivery boy pushed his way into the room, his nose crinkling in disgust at the awful stench that rolled over and around him, as though fighting to be free of the place. "Papers here, fatso!" The boy took careful aim and threw the tightly wrapped wad at the sleeping giant. Bullseye. It hit the mountainous gut and bounced up again into the air as Bronevski forced open his bleary eyes just in time to see it come to rest in the piss-filled pot beside the bed. "You little..." Bronevski shouted angrily, hurling the half-filled ashtray at the retreating figure, and succeeding only in hitting the empty spirit bottle, smashing it and the ashtray into 1,000 fragments. "Ah, missed again, you blind asshole," the kid laughed. "So long, pig-face!" With a huge heave, he pulled himself from the bed, muttering to himself all the time as he retrieved the paper from its damp resting place. Every day, every single day since the new kid had begun delivering the paper, Bronevski had to endure the daily torrent of abuse. The other kid, the one before him, she was just as bad, except her language was far worse. Far worse for someone of such tender years. Blatantly flashing her breasts at him every morning, teasing him with her young body, so damn sure of herself. Well, she got her comeuppance. He made sure of that. I'm fat and I'm slow, he thought. Fat and slow, but in the end, I always win. As he crossed the room to get some breakfast, his bulk waddled from side to side like a giant water-filled balloon. A fat finger daintily inserted in his left nostril, and after some scraping and delving around, he produced a huge green lump of hardened snot, which clung to his finger by way of a long black fingernail. He examined the brute minutely, as though checking it for quality. Then, as if sure of its merits, he sucked the blob from its refuge and chewed on it as he investigated the other nostril. Breakfast was a bowl of cereal, washed down with stale beer from a can with an obsolete sell-by date on it. It was cheaper to buy than the regular stuff, and as far as Bronevski was concerned, cheaper meant better. As he ate, he attempted to dry the piss-soaked newspaper over the gas jet on the stove, but succeeded in only setting it alight. In disgust, he threw the paper onto the floor and stomped on it, leaving it where it lay. It never crossed his mind to pick the mess up. It was new junk to cover old junk, so that was okay by him. After breakfast, he threw the bowl into the sink, put on an old lumber jacket that had seen better days, picked up a battered brown shopping bag, and set off walking to town a mile away on the other side of